Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Shabil Academy. Today we're going to be taking Chapter 9 of Business Studies, Small Business and Entrepreneurship. Introduction. Small-scale industries contribute significantly to national development and acts as a vital link in industrialization in terms of production, employment and exports for economic prosperity by widening entrepreneurial base and use of local raw materials and indigenous skills. It dominates the industrial sector of India with high labor force and tremendous export potential. Village and small industries together make the largest employment opportunities in the country. So basically, small-scale industries are a huge contribution factor to the national development. And it's a vital link to industrialization because it's involved in production, employment, and it gives high-quality exports and which will allow each state to grow individually. Thing is, one of the two biggest problems in India is unemployment. There's this unemployment epidemic, even with the high rates of people going to the West or to the Gulf in order to find employment. We still find a huge portion of the population back home in India still unable to find any stable means to make a living. And with this, small-scale industries, they help people by providing opportunities, job opportunities, employment opportunities to these unemployed people. Not only that, there's the problem of interstate disparities, where some states are more socially, economically, academically more advanced than the others. And while these states progress further, the others begin to worsen. Now, all these can be solved with the help of small-scale industries. Not only does it provide employment, it also helps each region, each rural areas, each region to grow by itself, with its own employment, with its own economy. And when this is all collectively added up, the nation as a whole develops, and each region together collectively adds to the progress of the nation, and the interstate disparity begins to fade, and we get a balanced economic development across the country. Now, small industries are classified into two categories. Two categories are traditional and modern. It's further subdivided into 8 groups. 4 of these are traditional, 2 of these are modern. What modern and traditional means is traditional uses more labor and the old technology, more aged, the technology that our grandparents used to use, or our parents, or their parents. So these are aged, not really up to the times, and will take more time, will take more effort to use, and it's more labor intensive. So that's when we say it's traditional, whereas modern uses more technological assets. Now, traditional are handlooms, handicrafts, coir, sericulture. These 4 are traditional, whereas khadi and village industries, small-scale industries, and power looms are modern. Now, types of small businesses. There are many ways to measure a small business. How to measure it? It's in terms of the number of people employed there, the capital invested, the volume and value, the quantity and quality of the output of the business, and the power consumed for business activities. Now, the definition used by the Indian government is based on the investment on plants and machinery. So they measure these industries based on how much they invest in plants and machinery. And this measure keeps in view the socio-economic environment in India, where capital is scarce and labor is abundant. Basically, what this means is the capital is really scarce in India. Capital is too little, whereas labor is too much, because there's so many people unemployed, the population is so vast that so many people are there that there's a huge workforce potential that is not being used. And not only that, there's a lack of technological assets to help these people, unemployed people, fill these positions. So what small-scale industries does by not using much capital and more labor is help provide more employment opportunities to these people while using less capital, which helps the problem when capital is too little and labor is too much. The increase in service sector compelled the government to include other enterprises covering both small-scale industries, SSI sector, and related service entities under the same initiative. So the 3 sectors, right? We studied there's tertiary. First it's primary, secondary, tertiary. So before agriculture used to be the main thing, primary, and slowly we've seen the shift from primary being the highest to tertiary taking over its place. Now, tertiary service sector is the biggest, and once this shift happened, it somewhat compelled the government to include other enterprises like small scale industries and related small entities, small businesses, to under the same initiative, the measure. Expansion of the small scale enterprises into medium scale enterprises were required to adopt higher levels of technologies in order to remain competitive in a fast globalizing world. So, all these small scale industries, a lot of them remain the same, but not everyone. Some of these industries, the small scale industries, they decide to expand, they decide to grow, and they decide to grow into medium scale industries. And when this happens, they need more technological assets, they need more equipment, they need more tech so that they can keep up with the bigger, more advanced, more progressed companies. So they can have a healthy competition with the fast globalizing world. So it was necessary to address the concerns of such enterprises, micro, small, and medium, the three levels, and provide them with a single legal framework. The Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises Development (MSMED) Act of 2006 addresses these issues relating to definition, the measure we just talked about, credit, marketing, in terms of how they can advertise their product, and technology upgradation. When we are moving from micro to small or small to medium, we need more tech, or just in general, we need to upgrade our tech so that we can create not just a lot better quality, but more quantity. Especially with the dedicated workforce they have, not only will they able to be providing, able to make more outputs quickly, they could also make more quality outputs quickly and quantity-wise as well. Now, medium-scale enterprises and service-related enterprises also come under the purview of this act. The MSMED Act 2006 came into force in October 2006. October 2006. Accordingly, enterprises are classified into two major categories, which are manufacturing and services. Manufacturing is when you're producing something. Services is when you're rendering a service, whether it's a doctor, a lawyer, etc. But there's a general definition of service when you're doing something for someone, whereas production is you creating something, a product, a commodity for someone, whereas service is more action-oriented. Now, manufacturing. Enterprises involved in production of goods to any industry specified in the first schedule to the Industries Development and Regulation Act 1951 are classified into three types of enterprises. What this basically means is, according to the Industries Development and Regulation Act 1951, manufacturing enterprises are divided into three types. One, micro enterprise, where the investment in plant and machinery, we already talked about the measure to measure these enterprises is to check how much they invest in plant and machinery. So when we are classifying them, that's exactly the same measure we're using. So for micro, they don't invest more than 25 lakh rupees, and this is for manufacturing. So micro manufacturing enterprises don't use more than 25 lakh rupees, whereas small enterprises use more than 25 lakh rupees but does not use more than 5 crore. So more than 25 lakh rupees, less than 5 crore rupees. Medium enterprise, they use more than 5 crore, less than 10 crore. So micro, less than 25 lakh. Small enterprise, more than 25 lakh, less than 5 crore. Medium, more than 5 crore, less than 10 crore. Now, services. These are also classified into three types. One, micro enterprise. Investment in equipment does not go more than 10 lakh. So, less than 10 lakh. Small enterprises, more than 10 lakh, less than 2 crore. Medium enterprise, more than 2 crore, less than 5 crore. So I have this. Feel free to take a screenshot. Micro enterprise, less than or equal to 25 lakh. Small enterprise, more than 25 lakh, less than 5 crore. Medium enterprise, more than 5 crore, less than 10 crore. And these three are for manufacturing, services. Manufacturing and services is micro is less than 10 lakh. Small is more than 10 lakh, less than 2 crore. Medium is more than 2 crore, less than 5 crore. Now, village industries, any industry located in a rural area which produces goods, renders services, or with or without using power, in which the fixed capital investment per head or artisan worker is specified by the central government occasionally. So basically what this means is any industry located in the rural area. So we're talking about villages. Villages are not the urban areas, we talk about rural areas. Rural areas which are somewhat of more natural, less advanced in terms of the tech and buildings. So any industry located in a rural area, whether they produce goods or they render any sort of service, whether they use power or not, and in which the capital investment per persons employed is specified by the central government. Not always, not daily, not regularly, occasionally specified by the government. It will be called as village industries. Now, cottage industries, they are known by two names. There's rural industries or traditional industries. Now, they're not defined by the same investment criteria, capital investment criteria we talked about earlier. So we don't check how much they invested in plant and machinery. That's not how we check. Rather, we check by the features like the following. Right? These are organized by individuals with private resources. So most of these big companies, they go out of their way. They hire a lot of people from the outside. They buy a lot of things. They buy a lot of input from the outside. So what these people do is they use their own private resources. They hire their own family labor or locally available talent. So these are organized by individuals with private resources. That's one, they use their own private resources. Individuals with private resources. Two, they use family labor or locally available talent. So whether it's their neighbors or people in their local area, and or their own family. And they use simple equipment, nothing too advanced, nothing too complex, nothing too good, in another term, nothing too new or modern. And four, small capital investment. They don't invest much, especially since it's they're already starting. They're using everything in their power to make sure they can make this business flourish. So they're using their own family, their own resources, their own homes, their own capital. And but with all this, they're still investing very little financially and more labor-wise. Now, they produce simple products normally in their own property. Like I said, they don't really have land of their, they don't hire out a land outside of their homes just so that they can start a factory or a plant or any sort of building there. They do it in the comfort of their own homes. Not in the comfort, but yeah, they do it in their own properties, in their own lands. And they use their own private resources, and they use their own family labor and locally available talent, and they use simple equipment. And they produce simple products, and the capital investment is less. They produce simple products normally in their own property. Okay, and production of goods using indigenous technology. So for the most part, outdated tech that will take thrice or 10 times as long as it would for modern technology to do whatever the task is. Now, role of small business in India. Small industries significantly contributed to the balanced regional development of our country. So when you talk about interstate disparities, when some states are richer than the others, and these states continue to progress while these lower income states, they continue to worsen. So what this does is they help each rural area start their own business, start their own means of finding and earning money and creating really good quality products. So when collectively added, it causes a balanced regional development. And it accounts, and keep in mind, this is very important, it accounts for 95% of the industrial units in India. And it is the second largest employer of human resources. Small industries are the second largest employers of human resources after agriculture. So I do want you to keep in mind there's just not one small scale industry or two, it's a whole collection of small scale industries across the country. When added up, it is far higher than most of the big large scale companies. Now, they generate more number of employment opportunities per unit of capital invested compared to large industries. Thus, they are more labor intensive and less capital intensive. This is a boon for a labor surplus country like India. What this basically means is more focus on the bold part, like they are more labor intensive, less capital intensive. So they use more labor, they use more workforce, they need more people working physically and less technological work. So less capital intensive. So they don't have much equipment, they don't have much complex equipment. It's not easy to be done with the machines. No, more people are involved, and because of that, there's a huge workforce, there's a huge population in India. A lot of people who are unemployed. So they can find these people, give them jobs, and they'll need more because it's not done by the machines. A lot of the jobs nowadays are getting replaced by machines. So this is also like kind of a reaction to that. We have jobs that cannot be done by machines, and where machinery is very little. So they bring in people, and people are necessary to this process. So this is a boon for a country surplus, for a labor surplus country like India. So there's a lot of people unemployed, there's a heavy workforce, there's a large workforce, so they need more workers, which is a really good, big advantage for a country like India, where people just can't seem to have enough, where there's not enough jobs to fill everyone's position. So small industries in our country supply an enormous variety of products. So I'm not going to keep reading this, but you can take a screenshot or check in your textbook. They have a variety of products that goes from almost everything, to the things we wear, to the stationery, to the soaps, detergents, to domestic utensils, plastics, the furniture, the light matches, and even medical equipment, electronic medical equipment, electronic teaching, air conditioners, drugs and pharmaceuticals, televisions, computers. Almost everything that we see from our day-to-day lives can be made by small businesses, are being made by small business in India. Now, small industries which produce simple products using simple technologies and depend on locally available resources, both material and labor, can be set up anywhere in the country. So, since they can be widely spread without any locational constraints, the benefits of industrialization can be reaped by every region. Thus, they contribute to the. Okay, so basically, what this saying is, we already talked about how they don't invest much. How they use really simple technologies and make really simple products, and they are more labor oriented, but at the same time it's not like they have a huge workforce. It's not a big company. It's companies owned by families or locally available talent. So they're not hiring a whole bunch, an army, just to work for them. No. So because of these tight-knit communities and small size, the size which is small and tiny compared to others, it helps them be flexible. They can set their shop up anywhere in the country because of how little equipment and people they have. And this is good because it helps them move around, it helps them be more flexible, and it helps it contributes to the balanced development of the country. Now, small industries provide ample opportunity for entrepreneurship. So one of the sad things is a lot of people in rural areas have brilliant ideas. And these ideas sadly never get used. These ideas remain ideas and never products. They are never turned into an actual commodity or service. So when small businesses are being encouraged, these people can come up and give their ideas and try to make their ideas into reality. And by doing this, they can be able to contribute and help their ideas come to life using small-scale industries. So it's encouraging entrepreneurship. Now, small industries have low cost of production. So the thing is, we already said, one of the biggest companies, Apple or Samsung or almost any big company, we might see most of the factories are located in China or other cheaper country factories. They use a lot of labor, a lot of people is forced into a factory, but it's all underdeveloped areas. And the reason they do this is because things are cheap, the labor, the fees, the salary, everything, the wages, everything is cheap there. Because of that, they make sure that a lot of these companies use them for labor, use them for the raw materials. And this is just a natural condition for the small scale industries because they're born and brought up, they're settled in these rural areas, and because of that they have a lot of cheap material that they can find, and they don't really need to invest much financially. They need to invest more physically. Now, so establishment, they are expensive, and establishment and or running costs of small industries are on the lower side because of lower overhead expenses, which makes their competitive strength. Okay, so because of this, a lot of big industries, they invest a lot of money. Even with all this, they still have to invest a lot of money. Whereas small industries, they already having the advantage of not being able to financially spend that much, and because of that they don't spend much, but they still create a lot of output, and that gives them a big edge over the other companies and helps them compete because their production cost is so low, and this is their strength. Due to small size of the organization, quick and timely decisions can be taken without consulting many people, as it happens in large sized organizations. So like sole proprietorship, when there's only a few people involved, the decisions can be made quickly, whereas big industries, they have a lot of people, a lot of shareholders, investors, and so on. They have to consider a lot of opinions and a lot of viewpoints before they make decisions, whereas in here, the amount of people employed, the amount of people in charge are less, so the decisions can be made quickly. So this is the part 1 of Business Studies Chapter 9. I'll be making a few more parts. So thank you for watching. Please check out the next part in the playlist. Link in the description below.